Well, Rob, we're back. We're gonna, for our Lenten series, I think you and I are gonna be trying to sit down at least every week and talk about, the sermon and kind of the direction we're going. And as you know, this year, because of our Lenten devotionals that are out, just like our Advent devotionals, we have a theme, and that theme is journeying to the center.
Right.
I was gonna see why we kind of chose that theme, and then talk a little bit about where we started on Sunday.
Well, there was a good book by a man named Jim Harnish that I've actually known for years, and we thought the things really got to some of the core issues of being a Christian. Journey to the center of community, which we dealt with Sunday, to the center of a warm heart, of Christ-centered life, of hope. And it goes, so but we also just like that word center. And I think some of you heard in the sermon, we had this Yeats, the poet, had this line from one of his, he had seen the dissolution of the world, 1930s, the world was falling apart. And he said, everything falls apart if the center does not hold. And we just like that whole concept of thinking that's a big part of being a person of faith, finding a center.
Yeah. I love that line where we kind of switched Yeats around and said, we're going to try to create a center that holds. And Luke told that story about Pappy and the gyroscope, but we talked about Quakers, and the Quakers had this line, and they had this practice where a centering practice kind of built in, and they said that this was a time to let your soul catch up to your body, or your body catch up to your soul, and vice versa.
Yeah.
I just thought that was such a beautiful line, and I want to share something that the folks at home might not know, but sometimes Sunday morning with technology, it can be hard on a Sunday morning to make sure that we're getting piped into your homes and computers and phones as seamlessly as we want. And so sometimes it takes an extra moment of centering.
We had a little, as some of you know, things went afoul. And this week I'm preaching on journey to the center of patience. So the things that I was going to say this week were being tested.
Oh my gosh.
Last Sunday. One thing I think, Patrick, that Luke and I both struggled with in preparing this sermon, when you start talking about a concept like centering, it's not like it's a weird concept, but I think a lot of people think that's something that if I was a very contemplative person, if I had the luxury of being Thomas Merton and spending 3 years in a Trappist monastery, maybe then I could participate in that. And I wanted us to make it a little more available to people, but also let us know what's at stake. There's one little thing I left out. This little story I've told here in the church before, very short. And it said, Lord Ronald madly ran from his house and madly ran across the field and madly jumped on his horse and rode off in 4 directions. And the thing I always liked about that, when I've told that, I can see it connect. People understand that. Oh, I know what it's like to feel like my life is kind of chaotic, disordered, divided. I have all these plates spinning, all these different roles. And I think centering really has to do with trying to find our core identity and our core priorities. And to me, that makes sense. I think when you say it like that, people go, okay.
Yeah. And I like that, you and Luke each shared some centering practices, because I know most of us have felt centered at one time or another. Even right now in this kind of year of chaos we have touch points that we can remember, and maybe it's a small group, or maybe it's a time alone in the car or hike. And you gave the example of the chapel at Wilderness Trail, and how if you're really feeling disjointed, you can kind of go there in your mind and experience that. And have you found that really helpful for centering?
Absolutely. I think a lot of us, a sense of place where we felt that peace kind of inside our own skin, equilibrium of spirit, to go back to those moments. One reason I love the cover of our devotional book. It's the rose window.
Yeah.
And it has something about that rose window to me draws you to the center of the visual saying and the window itself. And I imagine for a lot of you, I hope as you hold that book, you're going to be thinking about times that this very sanctuary was a centering place. For me, the Wilderness Trail Chapel. Do you have a place?
Yeah, I kind of had a similar. I was telling you we didn't have Wilderness Trail where I was in Texas, but we had a camp called Lakeview, and there's a chapel there called Peace Chapel. And it's this large A-frame structure. And it's a big church. It could hold 500 members really, but it's almost built like a shotgun house. It's really narrow, but it's really long. And at the very end is this big beautiful stone wall, and in the middle of it is a cross, and there's tea lights that are spread out all over those stones. And so at night, those will be lit up, and it's just a wonderful place to go. And so when I'm feeling really stressed or really anxious, I go there. And I also go to this chapel. I go to our sanctuary, and I think about the faces of people. We're going to start during Lent opening the.
Yeah, let's say a word about that.
Yeah, we're going to open the sanctuary up for prayer time, which we've done. We did once before, and it was so meaningful. I know that you and I both saw it on people's faces, for them to sit in the pews and to look around, and like you said, to see the rose window, to look at the stained glass windows, to just feel the presence of that space that has meant so much to so many people for hundreds of years.
I think the way we're going to do it is people call. Do they make reservations?
I think we'll end up making reservations like we did last time on Realm, or you can call.
So be very limited, the number of people that are in there, very spaced out. So we're going to take all the protocol and making that possible.
Yeah. But it'll be open right after worship on
like 10 o'clock.
Like at 10 o'clock. And so just a time to come and be in the space and to prayerfully reflect, and maybe to find that center there. And why did we choose the journey to the center of community to start?
I think it's a reminder that the whole Christian adventure journey never has been meant to be a Lone Ranger thing. Just me and Jesus, just me and God. And I've always thought it's important to start there, because we don't always start there, especially as American Christians. There's a lot of this autonomous self, the pursuit of individual happiness. And so I would say there is a degree of resistance to the fact that from the very get-go, Jesus was saying, that's why we use this John 15, abide in me, I in you, I'm the vine, you're the branches. That really good imagery that, yes, we're connected to the vine, but not just by ourselves. We have all these branches we grow over and around and through one another. And I just think, look, I know what a nuisance being a part of church can be more than anybody. I don't mean that negatively. It's a challenge.
It is.
To get a whole bunch of people together from different backgrounds and different ways of thinking and talking. But wow, at times you say, it'd be a lot easier just to do this thing solo.
Yeah.
But the other side of it is, I really do believe it's in our life together that we're formed and tested, saved and redeemed. So I thought that would be, if we're going to talk about our journey, to just start from the get-go saying, by the way, we're going to have some other folks in it with us.
Yeah. I know I had a weird experience this week. I was looking for a DVD, and I was kind of scouring the church. So Andrew and I were unlocking every door, rooms that seemingly no one had been in for a while. And there on a lot of the doors were the attendance sheets from March 8th, the last time we were all here. And,
that was our last Sunday.
Our last Sunday.
Well, we're approaching that annual.
We're getting which is just, and I picked it up, and at first I was at the discovery class and the covenant class and the inquirers class and the serendipity class. And I was looking, and everyone had a check next to their name that had been there. And I looked down at the bottom at the number total. And then I thought to myself, I've been on Zoom with these classes, and I'm seeing the same number, if not more now. And to me, that just speaks to, as Central, even though we're kind of disjointed and all over, we're still trying to hold on to that community, because that is where we kind of find our center. And that's so important for us here, to be a group that has groups within it and layers like an onion, and the branches grow over one another. And someone's in the inquirers class and also in Lee Young's Bible study, and maybe they're in Kiwanis in one place. And, soon enough, we're all interconnected throughout this city and now throughout the state and the country and the globe.
Yeah, I think that's been the biggest challenge. When I'm glad you reminded us. March 8th was the last time we were all together. And that's the last week that as a church, we had people gathering and Sunday school classes and journey groups in person. And so but I think the biggest challenge was how do we stay connected? And I think the reason we've done it is people have just said, as awkward as this feels at times, and I imagine about 50% of people that have chosen to do that had to learn a new skill set, right? Aren't you still coaching people?
Yeah, I'm still coaching myself too. I mean, it feels like every week we have something new on Zoom that we're trying to figure out.
So I think everybody in the church, there's no secret about I have stayed back from the kind of technological advances of recent years and been a little bit backward, but I'm trying, and I actually did a solo run with the confirmation class Sunday afternoon.
I was going to bring that up. I was going to brag on you. Rob did a full Sunday school lesson with pictures.
Yeah. I had pictures, and I had a whole confirmation class. But here's a little confession. So I was using Sarah's computer, and she got all set up, and we're off and running. And I'm seeing this little thing flash on, and it says power running low. She didn't realize how long I was going to be talking. I guess I don't know. So the thing's unplugged, and she's 3 rooms down, and I'm seeing the time running out. I'm thinking, can I get to my stopping point before I go out? And right where I got us to a pretty good place, it blanks out. The kids have breakout for 10 minutes. I get it plugged in, but I had some moments.
It was touch and go.
Yeah, I was over my skis.
Well, Rob, I know this week we're going to talk about journey to the center of patience, and just share what your scripture is going to be and kind of the direction we're going.
Yeah, it's a wonderful little book of the Old Testament, Habakkuk. All right, how many of you have even ever honestly wandered into the book? Probably. It's a rich little book, and the prophet asked the question right at the beginning, first chapter, how long? And in a sense, you might say he's in his own pandemic. The Babylonians are at the gate. And then I open up talking about we've been asking that question. But then he takes it a step further, saying what he's struggling for is not just the immediate situation around him, but the challenge of accepting God's larger call to be a part of peace with justice. Yeah. And he has not seen that happening in this land among his people. And that becomes also our challenge as Christians. We feel sometimes like, we're always talking about something that's not quite yet. We believe in it, but people look at us like, you really think that's real? And so we ask, how long? And it's a really beautiful little book, because in these 3 chapters, you can see him work his way through discouragement to a deeper sense of hope. There's a great phrase in there. He got on the watchtower. He got some perspective. And that's what I hope you'll find in this sermon. Patience, not just about being a human being. That requires enough patience for all of us to get through a week sometimes. But patience by being people who are stewards of the larger dreams of God. So I think I know I've learned a lot just by reading this great little prophet again, the book of Habakkuk. Folks, you could sit down and read the whole book before Sunday morning. Okay, it's a good read. So we'll again have really good worship, and
I'm looking forward to it. And we'll be back next week to talk about that, and then hopefully we'll have Luke in there with us to give us a preview of what he's going to talk about. And I want to remind everyone we have a Lenten devotional, and you can find that digitally on our website, or if you are someone that needs a physical copy like myself, one to maybe write in, or one to just hold as you're going through, to see that beautiful imagery of the rose window. That can be also found on Amazon. And so I encourage you to go to the website, and there are links there to either download or to go and find it. The staff worked hard to get that together, but really it didn't seem like that much work, knowing that it would be going to further our journey together as we journey this Lent to the center of our faith and to the center of what it means to to be the church called Central here in Asheville.
Yeah, I recommend get a hard copy. Get it.
Yeah.
It's beautifully edited by Annie Lingle.
Yeah.
The cover and just the type and print. It's just, and I'm kind of like you, Patrick. It's kind of nice just to have it in your hands. But Amazon gets it to you within a
quick.
Yeah, it's amazing.
It is amazing, but
It's amazing. So,
well, if you need us, you can always call up to the office or send us an email. But friends, we hope you're doing well. We'll see you next week.
thank you.